This is Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions with Alastair Lynch, Tom Rockliff and Dylan Leach.
Hello everyone, welcome to the final Neds AFL Unpopular Opinions for season 2024, where the Brisbane Lions absolutely dominated on grand final day, and I know you're waiting to hear the views of two actual ex-Brisbane Lions players on how they went, and there's going to be a lot of Lions supporters listening to this. My name is Dylan Leach. It is lovely to join you, but I'm lucky to have Tom Rockliff with me. Hello, Tom.
Dill, how are you, mate?
Fabulous, and he was a very popular man. Rock star-like treatment over the last 48 hours. Alastair Lynch.
I made sure I got down Brunswick Street and Fitzroy a couple of times. Just
Brunswick
dying out.
A couple of little power laps.
I didn't quite get the Brunswick Oval, just loitered around a number of the pubs in Fitzroy, which was great. It was great prior to the grand final, and certainly post it was even bigger.
Yeah, no, I also happened to be in Melbourne grand final, and the pubs in Fitzroy. Like, Fitzroy has probably the best pubs in Australia. The best pub precinct in Australia is probably in the Fitzroy area, and places like the Napier, Royal Derby, the Standard Commercial Club, just the Rose, just all absolutely heaving over the weekend. And with the Fitzroy connection, geez, it was the place to be.
I did take a photo of there's a 1950s or 1960s Fitzroy footballer. Some smart asses put my signature at the bottom of it, and so I reckon I was one of my old teammates, because they do feel I'm very old, but I'm not that old. But did spot that at the Standard Hotel for a few refreshments Sunday afternoon.
Fantastic.
Prior to going to the Royal Derby for a few more refreshments.
Yes, I see you and the old boys catching up at the Royal. Is that an annual thing now?
Well, it was the idea of the past few years was a 20-year reunion from the premiership, and it's been that good that we just thought we'd run it again. So
21st,
Pikey, we're going the 21st because we don't want to go the 20th for our loss to your mob. Pikey organised again, did a beautiful job.
Maybe it was a 24-hour reunion for the current day players as well, on behalf of the old day players.
Well, I think they've got several days to go. I think our biggest one went 8 days, finished up at the Rugby League Grand Final the following Sunday, which was quite large. So they, rightly so, should be enjoying this, and I'm sure they will be.
We'll get to your observations about the grand final in a minute. I'm actually really keen to hear from Tom, because obviously we hear from the current day Lions and we talk past day Lions. We talk about your era mostly. Tom, you flew the flag for the Brisbane Lions Football Club in its probably darkest days. Post-merger, I would say. You were captain when there was the go-home six. The club had retention issues. They were lingering down the bottom of the ladder. As I mentioned to you over the weekend, I happened to be at the grand final, and the woman sitting next to me had a Tom Rockliff badge on their scarf, which I thought was quite sweet. And I think whenever a club breaks a drought, we always look at the players that played in the glory eras and what it means to them, but I'm always more curious to see about players that didn't play in such a great era but gave a lot to the club. So I'd love to get your views on what this premiership means.
Oh, it's massive. I think that was the old girl, the mum down there with the badge on, so thanks for that. But that outstanding. Like, you're looking, got a bit emotional when you see like Dane Zorko and Ryan Lester and that cuddling. Like, they went through the hard times as well. And I mean, I spoke to Froggy Lester the back end of 21, start of 22, and he sort of accepted that may have been his last season, and he was content with that and looking to sort of progress into a different phase of life. And 2 years later, he's one of the most important cogs in their premiership. It's outstanding. Just the stories of that. Harris Andrews was there as a young fella as well. Eric Kipwood. So there's so many guys that have done it tough and seen the worst of footy clubs, in my opinion. I think you look back on certain times at the Lions, I thought we were a dysfunctional footy club, to put it politely. I think there was certainly some challenging times, and we couldn't get anything going. And then for Fags to come in, I think another guy that's probably not spoken about a lot is David Noble. His impact as footy manager, coming in, picking up the pieces. I think those two, the work that they did initially, early days, was outstanding, just to bring the footy club back together. And Fags is big on that relationships. And you're seeing after the game how how loved he is universally by his players. And I think the level of maturity, Dane Zorko did an interview after the game and said that round 13, I think they went to Harris Andrews, Joe Danaher, Zorks and Froggy Lester, and said, if you want to play the kids, we're okay with that. We're happy to play VFL and take the next step. And
oh, really?
It's just shows that the selfless mindset of them. And they got together. They caught up weekly after that. Josh Dunkley joined in as well, and they continued those conversations throughout the back end of the season. But they never lost sight of what they wanted to ultimately achieve, which was the premiership. And as I said last week on this show and a couple of times, I think it goes down as probably the greatest premiership in the AFL era, just from where they've come from, 5 ACLs, that their season was shot. They finish outside the top 4. They travel 3 times in the final series and then blow Sydney away in the grand final. I thought they were outstanding, and it's a massive tick for the footy club. I was very excited for them.
I saw a post on a Brisbane Lions fan page that came across me, and it listed what the Brisbane Lions had to go through to win that premiership. So it starts with the heartbreak of last year's grand final loss. There was the loss of a very important figure behind the scenes in the club, Nicole Duncan, who meant a lot to literally everyone involved at Brisbane.
She did everything for everyone in that club.
Yeah.
And you mentioned...
And looked after both of you two.
Oh, absolutely. She started at the club just as I arrived at the club in end of 93. Yeah. I think she was a couple of months before me. You mentioned a guy in the class of him... Ryan Lester spoke at a funeral and just nailed it. It was just such a powerful speech. But yes, another key moment.
The list goes on. Fags and the nasty Hawthorn saga that still lingers, or that was still lingering. 5 active ACLs on their injury list. The rumours about Vegas. 13.
Well, that was real.
Yeah,
not so much.
Vegas. What happened in Vegas?
They didn't even go to Vegas, but I mean, there was still a lot of talk around that they had to manage.
13th of the bye and written off. 2 close losses to finish 5th. Down by 44 points in a semi-final. Down by 25 points in a prelim final. They played the most games played away trips in a season. So Brisbane got on a plane more than any other team in the competition's history. In the history of the national competition in a season.
Did they?
Yes. And 3 away games to win a grand final by 60 points.
Yeah, but GWS.
Extra round and Adelaide, I suppose, as well.
Yeah.
Home game in Adelaide.
Yeah. And 3 away games to win a grand final by 60 points. And they were underdogs in, I think, just about, apart from the Carlton game, the last 3 finals they went in the market as underdogs.
No, it was an incredible win.
Yeah.
An incredible win. I mean, just interested in your thoughts. Who, you look at that team and how well performed, and Lockie Neal is a superstar, and a guy that if you give him 3-2-1, is not going to get in the votes, but you could build a case. If you're picking off the wall the players to field a team this week, so it's not longevity or anything like that, and you're picking out of the squad of the Brisbane Lions, and who do you pick off the wall first? And I'll probably it is a tough one. I'll give away my thoughts. I'll give you time to think of it. If I was picking someone out of that game to play for me next week, the first pick I'm picking is Harris Andrews.
Yeah, I would have said Harris as well.
Yeah, is Harris Andrews, because like if your next pick you go Lockie Neal, all right, I'll get Josh Dunkley or Will Ashcroft or something like that. Harris Andrews, what he is for that club, he's incredible. Like, and he did once again another great job down there, intercept marking, just shutting down forward 50s, and been around there for a long time. Looked about 4 or 5 years ago. Looked like he was cooked with that knee injury.
Yep.
But a super player and played a pivotal role.
Oh yeah, he's been outstanding, Harris, and a local talent that every club had the opportunity to get him.
Yeah.
He ended up going pick 69 or something.
Was it that far down?
Just an outstanding human being as well, and lifts the cup up. And the other touchy moment was Fags getting Dane Zorko up to lift that up as well.
Yeah, that was well done.
When they handed over the captaincy a couple of years ago, he said, if we're ever up on stage,
did he?
I'll get you up, and he stuck true to his word.
Actually, speaking of the premiership presentation, he's become he's got a bit of a cult status on the internet. Who is the bloke from the Lions that made sure that the kids got their hands shook in a cap? Because you could clearly, this has been doing the rounds on the internet. There was a trainer at the Lions as they were going up to the dais, and you could clearly see him say, make sure you shake the kid's hand. And so he's sort of gone a bit viral. Who is that man?
I'm not sure.
No, I didn't see it. I was in the stand, so no, not sure.
It'd be a media manager or something.
I don't think it was a media manager, but anyway.
But the clubs do that sort of stuff pretty
good.
well.
Yeah.
No, it's great stuff.
To give in the moment to make sure you do those little things well.
Because I think
one player didn't. And
Tom Stewart forgot one year. And
I think one of the Lions players might have forgotten.
It happens every year. There's one that just it's an oversight. And it'd be so hard in that moment.
And another one, and we've spoken highly of him in recent weeks, and I think probably in the early years at the Brisbane Lions, he frustrated a lot of people. But Joe Danaher's final series and game.
It was the most on-brand Joe Danaher.
Yeah, I mean, how good. Played a very good role, and just he was classically Joe.
Does he retire from here? The rumours are now circulating.
Well, it must have been. I was asked on SEN, maybe it was Friday morning, about the rumour was at that stage was Chris Fagan was going to retire if they won the flag. And I said, well, I haven't heard that, and I'd be very surprised. But I have heard, the only one I had heard was Joe Danaher bubbling away earlier in the week. Now, God knows where that's come from. We've heard from the family; they haven't heard it, but it's something you could imagine Joe doing.
Well, it came from BT, didn't it? So BT did a radio interview in South Australia and sort of alluded to a fact that there'd be a big news story post.
And when did he say that?
Wednesday, I think.
Oh, right.
And then sort of let it stew and fester, and then obviously everyone goes to work and tries to find out. And there is a connection there. BT and Joe's wife or partner, I'm not sure if they're married, she used to be a producer at Channel 7. So there is a connection there with BT. So maybe watch this space.
One thing I loved from the grand final, and it's been well talked about, but it was just so great, the Big O. He didn't play, but how he took to the celebrations, how he embraced Darcy Fort, how he just owned the moment. And, he didn't play on the day, but I think a lot of people are going to remember the Big O from the 2024 grand final.
Well, you spoke about what they overcame before, and 25 points down against Geelong in the prelim, and you lose your number one ruckman, and Joe has to stand up. So that in itself was incredible. But Oscar McInerney, another selfless guy, he was as excited as anyone. We've seen players in the past crying when they've missed a grand final and stuff like that and get emotional. But he was all-in team and just as excited as anyone. He did some great. If you haven't caught them, go and listen to his post-game interviews. Outstanding.
Oh, really? Yeah. I will do that. But just, I reckon that was one of the special moments of the day, to see that genuine love for his teammates and celebrations. When you can understand if there was, heartbroken, you would imagine, though, with looking at him, there's no heartbreak there. He was just so happy for everyone and so happy for Darcy Fort. And it was great that Darcy Fort, I think in everything that I heard him talk, every interview he did, he acknowledged Oscar and how important he was. But that was one of the special moments, no doubt.
He spoke about just like, he goes, I should be out every second week anyway. Darcy stars in the VFL.
No, was he?
Take him off.
How good.
And he just spoke about how important it was, and that he goes, this feeling is unbelievable, and we've got to try and emulate it again. And he goes, I'm as part of it as anyone else. Like it's a squad mentality.
And it's a great perspective because, as I say, whenever people think about the 2024 Lions premiership, I think the Big O will actually come up in the conversation.
Oh, about it's an important part
being part of it.
The group. I mean, he was such a significant role player over the last few years, and played an important role getting them there. And he's very much a part of it.
His journey is incredible as well, because he was not playing AFL sort of 16, 17, 18. Went to I think a Ben Hudson type academy in VFL, and then they've reconnected up here. And he's one of the premier ruckmans in the comp.
He is. I was working with Paul Roos. grand final day, and we're talking about that when Ruzi was coaching Melbourne. Oscar was a top-up player with Casey in the twos, so he knew him and saw this gangly kid getting around. And it's been an amazing story. And I think we chatted about it last year. Wasn't he catching? I think he went to school evening Footscray or something like that, and he was catching a train out to Casey for training after school, after uni. I mean, incredible.
Will Ashcroft, Norm Smith medalist. Right choice?
Oh, well, yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I think I went, and I was struggling with my votes, but in the end, before it was announced, I settled on Neil, Ashcroft, Archie was my vote. I would have been trying to go, I wanted to give 5 votes, get 5 players in there because there was other significant players. But that's where I voted. But I get what they did. How'd you go?
I thought it was around the money. Like Loman's probably another one that you could throw in there. He kicked 4 goals. I thought he was really important in that first half. But for me, externally watching it, I thought Archie was best on ground, only for the fact that what he did to Blakey the other way. Yeah. So keep him to 17. He's their one wood. He's their distributor off halfback. Keep him to 17. Kick 4 the other way. But I also understand that Ashcroft he's electric. He's so good inside. He's just his hands, and Lockie's had 35 as well. So, I mean, it could have gone to 4 or 5 players. I thought they were outstanding, a lot of them.
And you think about, you're doing your pre-game chat and thinking about what are the greatest assets for Sydney and Brisbane and comparing the two. And I remember Ruzi and I were talking about the significant matchup of Dunkley on Heaney. Yeah. And again, like Heaney was a non-factor.
Non-sided,
in the game. So what Dunkley did there, as was mentioned before, Harris Andrews' role behind the ball, you could go through the whole lot and give them votes.
Do you reckon Sydney regret not taking Josh as a father-son? I mean, Josh Dunkley.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, I think they're a little bit disappointed with that.
So he's broken their heart in 2 grand finals now, the Dogs and Brisbane.
Yeah,
that's the ghost of the father-son past.
And that's a part of the whole Fagan Noble, rightly acknowledging David, but that package of stopping the move away but attracting Danaher, Dunkley, Lockie Neal.
Starcevic's role as well on Papley.
Oh, Starcevic, man.
Papley only got, 2 goals in the end, I think it was?
Yeah.
Just very early on as well.
Kept one earlier.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I remember we were speaking about pre-game, the crosshairs are starting to come around now onto a certain person, and again, unfairly, the losing coach was going to be judged harshly.
Yeah.
So with Horse, times he's been there and only the 1 premiership. And I just fear that if Brisbane lost, it would have been harsh criticism of Chris Fagan. Now, it's not now, and he's obviously put up there and celebrated. But, I just think it's too harsh on the coach of the losing team.
I'll ask you about the Swans in a moment. We'll focus on Brisbane. I'd love to get your perspective, Alastair. Where does this Brisbane team rate compared? So you're from an iconic, legendary Brisbane era. They're talking that this could be do you see this as the beginning of something for Brisbane? How does this team compare to, say, what you guys had when probably your first one in 2001? I wouldn't say your dynasty, but your first one.
The 2001 is probably similar.
Yeah.
We both got off to a slow start in the season, and we almost needed to win the 16 in a row to win the flag, because it was like every week we had to do something to stay in touch with the 8 or push into the 8. Oh, man, it's huge. But you talk about dynasties, and this is how tough a caper it is. Like, you've got so many clubs that will improve next year. And now I think Brisbane will improve. But like the question we were just talking about before, if take Joe Danaher out of that forward line, makes a significant difference if I know he signed on for an extended deal now, if Harris Andrews was to come out of that, it makes a huge difference. But I think with the talent and what they've showed, and again, my questions were around big moments and accuracy in front of goals at pivotal times. They've sort of shown that over the last 6 weeks, they've turned that around. It could be absolutely the start of something extremely special. And we normally think that when we see a premier, we normally think, they're going to start. They're going to start favourites.
It's worth putting not to put a dampener on the celebrations, but every team that's won a premiership this decade hasn't made the finals the following year.
Well, that's the reality. And you think about how tough the competition was and where Brisbane were 8 weeks ago, where Sydney were with dominating the competition 8 weeks ago. So it can turn, but they've got the talent there and the young talent.
It's so similar to yours. Like, you went on to win 16. They won 14 out of their last 16. They lost to Collingwood by a point, and the Giants up here, they should have won as well. So they also got some top-end talent. There's a Ashcroft, another Ashcroft.
Levi's coming in.
They reckon's number one, and then the academy player, they reckon, as well. So they've got some good players to come in, but also the ones they get back from injury. So all of a sudden, Dane Zorko's an all-Australian halfback. Does he stay at halfback? Kitty Coleman to come back in?
That's where Coleman comes in. I think
he probably will.
I think he will.
But I mean, you've got players to come back in, Link McCarthy to come back in. So then Archie only realistically got an opportunity because Link wasn't there. So they've got great depth, and if they can go on, I mean, they've lost a grand final last year, so potentially, if they are, like, they've played finals the last 6 years, been to a couple of prelims, grand final just fallen over. So they've had a really good era as it is. If they can add a premiership or two, then it sits right up.
We think of that 6 years. I mean, I think what we were played finals 99, 2000 before we won one. They've had a longer run-in, if you like, of being very competitive. But yeah, it's not. They're nowhere near the end of their window.
No. We've got Logan Morris, who's a first year, like, great story in itself. He's eating McDonald's on the way to the ground.
Was that the turning point of Brisbane's season? Brisbane's season changed when Logan Morris decided to just get a couple of Big Macs and a...
That's a game that they should never have won against the Suns. Like, they lost...
There's three players on the sidelines, wasn't there?
And then they lost 2 ACLs that game.
Yeah.
And just somehow kept it together for the second half and won.
That's the thing, with that adversity of the ACLs... Some of those kids. Kyle Lohman, we haven't seen him play that much footy.
He's a star.
And he's an absolute star. Got a bit of a strut about him, which is great. But he got that opportunity because they were playing Darcy Gardner forward. Link McCarthy goes out as well, so he gets more of a chance. Yeah, Logan Morris, on the off chance Stas does a calf in the warm-up. And as you said, with Archie. And... Where would Dane Zorko's career be if he was still trying to play around half forward? It could have gone up in smoke.
Exactly right.
But he's gone down a legitimate halfback flanker in the All-Australian side, and one of the real drivers to them winning the flag with his playoff halfback.
I'll go to ask you about the Swans. 4 grand finals in a decade, 2 in 3 years, all losses. This is now a thing. Not to rub salt in the wounds, but it's now a thing. This is the modern collywobbles, dominating all year and crumbling under the pressure of grand finals. It's really hard to be, I think, trying to be optimistic is probably hard for a lot of Swans people at the moment, because I think it's obvious that this hurts more than 22. 22 was like, oh, it was amazing we made it in the first place. When you've dominated all year and you put in a performance like that, naturally there's going to be people questioning the coach, questioning the captain, questioning the players. What do they need to do? Because I get the feeling that no matter what Sydney does next year, they need to basically get in the grand final and win it to prove everyone wrong. Because that stigma is just going to be hanging around.
That's
now.
The reality is they've got 12 months of exceedingly hard work and need to have a little bit of luck to get back to try to erase this issue. But and we spoke about it last week. The difference in the game could be it was either their best 3, their top 3, tear Brisbane a new one out of the middle of the ground, or the difference in the two teams clearly was the forward lines.
Yeah.
So Brisbane's chock full of X-factor players. Now, they don't always get it done, but with the three tools was a big question mark for the Sydney Swans. Very reliant on midfield goals. So if they get shut down, a lot of their scoring dries up, and very reliant on Tom Papley more than any other player. So that's a big issue from a list build point of view. They'll be looking into that.
I don't read as much into it as everyone else does. I think they came up against a red hot Brisbane Lions who I don't think they would have beaten anyone on that day. Heaney was coming out that he was carrying injury, hurt it really badly just before quarter time, so he was sort of on one leg. Players had down performances. Logan McDonald gets subbed off, probably shouldn't have played in hindsight. So I think it frustrates me a little bit because they get to grand final, so they're a good organisation, and it's a bit like the narrative around Port Adelaide as well. They need to win one to solidify what they've done. But the Swans, I think they've been there. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, sometimes they've just fallen over and their players haven't performed. So I think it'll just drive the players to get better and try and win one.
And that's where I think the AFL community is harsh on how we rate success.
Yeah.
Because as a player, there is a gap if you haven't got premiership player next to your name, and same as a coach. So it's like it's all or nothing. It's all you win the flag, or you're with the rest that haven't won the flag, which is harsh.
And that's a mantra I think the AFL community is built amongst itself. There is other ways to have success within your football career, but it's a mantra that the whole league has sort of put on itself. But with the Swans, I feel like if this was another club, like a Collingwood or a Port Adelaide or a club with a bigger fan base, the pressure
they'll argue
would...
they've got the biggest fan base.
Well, yes, but the Swans would, but a more passionate fan base, like a rabid fan, maybe not passionate because Swans fans are passionate, a rabid fan base, it wouldn't be nice if you lose a grand final like that.
Oh, no, they'll be crushed.
And I'm sure they will be crushed, but they've also got the benefit of having probably a more supportive fan base that would be a bit more optimistic as to what they can do, because I'm sure Tom would attest if that was a Port Adelaide in a situation like that, I don't think it would be as pleasant.
No, but I also look at it from what Longmire's been able to do there. They've missed finals, 2 or 3 times through his coaching career, which is outstanding. They've been to 4 or 5 grand finals under him. Yes, they've only won the one, but I would take that over Melbourne Footy Club,
Absolutely.
who have won one, and then they're out of finals again, hot and cold. They're consistently there. They're putting themselves there. So as a supporter,
that's a great problem to have.
That's all you're asking. And who knows how long Richmond's rebuild's going to be. Like, yes, you won 3 flags, but potentially for the next 10 years, you may not play finals. Where Sydney are consistently competing. Yes, they need to tweak it a little bit. Maybe they need to go after a big fish in that front half again. I'm not sure who it is, but Amadi, we can see when he's up and about, he plays really good footy. McDonald, he's going to take a bit of time as well. He's still only young, relatively, in key forward terms. You potentially bring 1 or 2 in. I think Luke Parker potentially moves on. I think he's been a great servant, and he was good again. He was consistent through that finals campaign. So they're not far away, and I would take the Swans. If I was a supporter, I'd be very happy with what I've had over the last 15 years.
So what would you take, you reckon, because Sydney just are this great club that don't bottom out.
Yep.
They're competitive every year. You mentioned Richmond. Who do you support these days?
Richmond.
Shit, you were out of...
I was barracking for the Lions for you blokes on Saturday.
I don't know if you can say you support Richmond when you leave with your trench shirts three-quarter time.
Dragged along the carpet, the guts pulled out of it. What club do you take? Richmond's 3 flags in 10 years, or Sydney Swans? Now this,
I'll happily take the 3 and 10 than 4 and 10.
But say even if we bolt on to the next 4 years, you don't look like it. With Tassie coming in as well, compromised drafts.
I think any fan base, and there's probably Lions fans that were like that for a while, that probably were happy for the next decade going, well, we had that, so that'll do us.
No,
and
let me tell you, they weren't. So I would take Sydney. So let's extend it out, and we're hypothetical here. Sydney win one in the next 6 years, right?
Yeah.
So we get to. I would take Sydney's 30 years over Richmond's 30 years because they've won them in a chunk. Richmond, they've been unsuccessful at the start, the back, and they won 3 in the middle. Where Sydney won 05, they're in a grand final 06. They've consistently played finals. They've won another one, and they've competed the whole way through.
And to be fair, your era was partly caused because our list tried to wring everything out. Yeah. So there was a few back-ended deals that they had to carry through into your time just to try to get the one more, just to sneak one more. So, it's an interesting conversation, but they're a great club.
It's a good dilemma to have. I'm sure Sydney will be back.
They'll be back.
Well, they're young still.
Well, they're guns.
They prematurely played in the grand final, then they've gone there again, experienced heartbreak because they went into that favourites on the weekend. So this one will sting more than 22 as we touched on. But I think they'll be thereabouts again. Like, they're too good not to be.
Yeah. But the pressure's going to be there.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Enormous pressure until they get one. Yeah. Again, you as a fan, you'd be so happy if they, in 12 months' time, they get into a grand final. You get into a grand final week, you're booking your tickets, but there will be that anxiety. I think, geez, we've got to get this one. As it was for Fags. It was for Fags on the weekend.
Well, they both had it. Yeah. They both went into it this year. It was the past 2 runners-up playing against each other.
And the narrative was around Geelong for a long period of time until they would win it in 22. So, I wouldn't be too worried if I was Sydney. I know they've lost it, but as a supporter, I'd be pretty happy with what they've produced.
Absolutely.
Sellouts every week. It was sell out. How good's that? It is it's the.
I know you're a big fan of the
best place to go watch footy on a Friday night for a big game. It's only 44,000, but it's a great atmosphere.
I'm sure a Sydney-Brisbane grand final meeting of previous years' grand finals. No such thing as a grand final rematch. It's not boxing. Now I'm sure that'll be one to get to next year as well.
Would be.
Overall, you happy with the grand final? Was that the last day grand final, you reckon?
I think they've got to.
We had this debate too with Roosie. Roosie's a traditionalist. He's Saturday afternoon. Yep. I'm a 4:40 start. I just feel that time of day, that light, I enjoy it.
And as a music enthusiast that you are, you're happy with Katy Perry pre-game? You enjoyed Katy?
Yeah, I actually recognised a couple of songs.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Which songs did you recognise?
I've forgotten. I don't know, but I thought
good.
That's familiar. No, she was great.
Yeah. What do you reckon?
She was good.
Do you like Katy?
She was good. I know we've done it before on this show, whether it's SA Tourism show at times, but he's a go-getter, Malinowskis. So he got the Live Golf. Yep. He got the gather round. He walked around during that game, went and eyeballed Katy Perry and said, "You got to come when you do your tour to Adelaide," and got her. So she put on another concert in Adelaide.
Oh, how good!
So you were obviously watching the game and that, but the news has come out that she's actually doing a show there.
Oh, that's good.
So
he's a go-getter.
Katy Perry at Adelaide Oval.
Yeah, incredible,
fantastic.
And I'm a fan of Katy Perry's even more so because when she was interviewed for AFL.com, they asked her what her favourite team was.
And I did see that.
Said the Tassie Devils.
Have you signed her up as a member?
Tassie Devils. Don't worry, she's got a jumper. We'll send that to her. She's on board.
I've seen a lot of pictures, and I don't know who's had more jumpers and scarves, her or Albo.
I was flat because I was very happy that she said she was a Tassie Devils supporter. Then everyone tells me she had jumpers all over.
She had a Hawthorn,
Essendon.
She had a Lion scarf on, a Fitzroy scarf. So.
Brilliant. But she said Tassie Devils. So
she said Tassie Devils. Well, she did. She's obviously got the heads up. She did say the team that's coming in next year, the Tassie Devils. Anyway, hang on. That's enough. Clip that up and just put it on the socials.
You at the Tassie Devils. You're looking for a club song, aren't you?
Yes. She a writer?
She can write some songs.
She can write some songs.
She could sing the club song.
I'll tell you.
You could have the first club song with a female voice.
We'll give her the opportunity to put something up.
Okay.
She can run it past me.
Okay.
Because I'm the music expert.
You're the one that judges the theme song, eh?
Well, the problem is you get an artist like that.
Yeah.
That artist isn't going to sing it. you got to have tone-deaf footballers.
Absolutely.
And fans.
You need barbershop.
Yeah,
you need a barbershop quartet to sing it.
Bogan down a bit from what Katy Perry.
I reckon Katy could get some.
You reckon she could
I reckon there's been plenty of Bogan sing-alongs to Katy Perry songs. In all seriousness, congratulations to the Brisbane Lions. I lived in Brisbane and been a club member and gone to most of the games, and Neds was a major sponsor. Got to had the pleasure of working with you two blokes, and I could not be happier for another club to win a premiership. I'm genuinely really stoked for them. They're a great footy club and they deserve it. And look, they're the first ever club to be reigning premiers in both AFL and AFLW. So they are just absolutely smashing it. So well done, Brisbane. Let's bring in Ryan for our last segment here on AFL Unpopular Opinions.
You're listening to Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions.
You are listening to AFL Unpopular Opinions, and each and every week, Ryan and Rocky have been doing a bit of a snapshot. Lynchy is still here, but it's all right, Lynchy. It's safe. You can remain for this segment. But we thought we'd bring Ryan in for one last time in season 2024. Hello, Ryan.
G'day, Dill. G'day, boys. Good to be back. Good to be on the right end of a Brisbane Lions win finally.
Yeah.
I'm sure you boys have been up and about for the entire show. So, lots to talk about.
Let's just get into it. Futures markets.
Yep.
I assume Brisbane are premiership favourites next year.
They sure are, mate. $6, but the rest of the market's quite interesting. You got Hawthorn, second elect, $7.50. And then Carlton, $8. And Sydney is also $7. GWS, $7.50.
Wow. But how do we feel
reading that on the app? It's not in order, is it?
No, I just realised that.
Ryan, when you get off air, you got to go and reshuffle things.
Is this a new innovation that we've got shuffled odds or something?
Obviously, the Neds bookmakers are still recovering from the granny celebrations.
Were there any interesting bets from the grand final the weekend?
Yeah, we had a couple of ones. We'll go back to the Brownlow, though, actually. That's where I want to start. So a bit of a long-range one here. Someone backed Paddy Cripps to win the Brownlow and then Brisbane to win the comp and Jesse Hogan to win the Coleman. So it was a $4 bet into just shy of $4,000.
Wow.
So,
nice.
And the other one was a 15-leg same gamer, $10 into $8K. I won't run through all the legs, but some pretty simple ones. Josh Dunkley, 20+. Logan Morris, anytime goal kicker. What else have we got? Dane Zorko, 20+. Papley, anytime, and Brisbane to win. So that's where the value came from.
So that wasn't yours, you and Rocky.
Yeah,
you didn't get that one over the line.
We only got one leg, I think.
Yeah. What are we at? I had Papley 3+. I know that.
Yeah,
and Zorko 30+. Yeah, so I got none.
I think I had Ashcroft 25+. That's the only one we got.
Yeah.
What was it paying in the end?
59.
Yeah, well, there's a shock that didn't go.
But I did tip Will Hayward first goal kicker, so we had to collect, mate.
No, look at us, guys.
Yeah.
Happy days. So how did the multi go in the end this year? Just the one.
Just the one.
It was early in the season.
You knew that. You've just thrown that in there.
It was just early in the season.
Yeah,
No, there was one.
round
one real early, yeah.
round 4 or something.
Very early, but we're still ahead of your NRL show.
Yeah, by one.
But
And we've only got one more chance. So.
yeah. Oh well. Good luck. How did you find grand final day, mate?
Loved it, mate. Yeah. No, it was probably not the game I was hoping for, but it was, like I said at the start, great to see Brisbane do it. Great to see Fagan do it. I'm sure it was emotional for you boys. And
That's been the disappointing thing, hasn't it, over the last few years? The blowouts in grand finals.
Yeah.
I actually said, well, I can guarantee one thing, it's not going to be a blowout today.
No, you would have thought that Sydney couldn't get blown away. Just that sort of side that, but their stars got just clamped and that was it. No good. But last year's was a good grand final, which has been a standout. But this year's disappointing.
I think the only two grand finals in the past decade that have been close have both involved Collingwood. Now that I think about it, so 2018 and 23. So make of that what you will. We're into the off-season now, and obviously there's plenty of good stuff coming up in Neds. You've got plenty of racing and NFL, and of course we got the NRL Grand Final coming up this weekend. But you take what does the off-season consist of for you guys? What are you guys going to get up to?
I've just got to
do your normal job.
Keep working.
Yeah,
keep working. So off to Adelaide this week. So no, I've got a fair bit of work on this year, but then
just back
to
reality.
just your
That's
work.
right. And obviously, it's a little bugbear of mine. I find that the premiers don't get enough. The 24-hour news cycle gets the better of the premiership team, because I feel like the Monday after the grand final literally feels like old news when it should still be front of mind in the football world, because we've already got trade radio happening. Andrew McQualter is the new coach of West Coast, and good luck to him. Godspeed, and may the WA newspapers be a little nice to him just to start off with. Do you find that maybe we get a bit too, like, we have to jump to the next thing rather than just sort of take a breath and reflect on what the season was?
Well, it's designed by the AFL that way to make sure they're the lead news story in the papers around the country, every week. And so I suppose it goes, the saturation of the media, big focuses on the winners and losers for a few days, and then the next big story is, we'll start, what's Joe going to announce? And I think Thursday night at the club, best and fairest, and there'll be sort of analytics around the best and fairest club champions awards, then into the trades and how clubs are going to get better. And it's interesting, but it's probably, unfortunately, it's naturally the way it goes.
Yeah. And there is plenty of ways to get around the grand final win if your team has won the premiership, that's for sure. Okay, well, we're about to wrap up for AFL Unpopular Opinions for season 2024. I usually ask what you're looking forward to, but what did you enjoy the most this year, Tom? From the football season in general.
Oh, well, obviously Brisbane winning the grand final, I think, was exceptional, and just can't wait to slide in that host seat next year. And
that's right.
Is that right?
Hello and welcome.
you slept on it. You went away for a couple of weeks, and look,
there's a lot of movement in the media. I could make an announcement after this. You never know.
You went big nobbing on the Olympics.
Yeah.
Went all the way to Paris or Sydney.
South Paris.
South Paris. Went all the way there. I thought I loved this year. It was the most open season we've had, and maybe there wasn't the standout super team. This appeared to be with Sydney early days, but most open season where sort of every club seemed to have their down times. Almost every coach was praised and clipped and sacked and all sorts of things. And Fags, what about his ride? I mean, he was getting the coke and sauce
after the Giants battle,
after the Giants game, and now he's there's going to be a statue of him outside the Gabba.
Yeah. Ryan, what did you enjoy most from season 2024?
Hawthorn's improvement, obviously, but
yes.
My mum's a diehard Brisbane fan, and I was watching the granny last year with her, and she was shattered. So on a personal note, it's good to see them finally win one for her. So that was cool, and I'm looking forward to your next digger to AFL celebrity over the offseason, mate.
Well, I've got to keep the show relevant and in the headlines. I've been told I've got to pick another blue with someone. I was actually thinking of going to the NRL just to sort of get all markets covered.
Well,
they might get a little physical if you go down
if you do, don't fold.
No.
Put your feet in the ground and stand up for yourself.
Yeah, I've been
You're best mates now, are you?
Yeah, we're besties.
Why? Because you folded.
Yeah, because he
stand up for what you said. Didn't you say something? Stand there.
What didn't I say, to be perfectly honest?
You know what? And you would have experienced this too on the season.
Yeah.
Post grand final, whether it be Sunday or walking out of the MCG, you see and you're saying about your mum, you see what it genuinely means to so many people around the place. It's their passion and their ongoing support and the riding of the waves, the ups and downs, it's amazing. And I think I sort of noticed that walking out of the MCG, and just the emotion of and how much it means to old and young supporters. It changes their year.
There is no better feeling of walking outside the MCG as a supporter when you're the premiers for the first time. You buy your merch, you get the Mark Knight Week poster, and when you walk into the pub after we won the grand final, it is the best beer you've ever drank.
How different is that to three-quarter time duffel coat out the Gabba, dragging along with Dusty's number being scrubbed off because you're going along the bitumen? Is that different? How's that beer? How does that beer taste?
I'd probably say it's the polar opposite. Yeah, I'd probably say it's the complete opposite.
Right.
You can do that all again this year on the Gold Coast, mate.
He's not going. I will say down the barrel of the camera. I'm more than confident in saying Dustin Martin will not be playing for the Gold Coast Suns next year.
Back on
You
the
front up
train
with a
at
duffel
Narang.
coat. You front up with a duffel coat. Nice shiny new one with the Gold Coast Suns.
That's not happening.
Come on.
That's not happening. No.
All right. What
You were
like?
decked out in Brisbane gear.
I was barracking.
I don't know about that.
Full nothing.
I know.
I went full. I was like, if I've got to embrace the day, embrace the day. And I thought, well, I had the Bears t-shirt. I thought, bugger it, I'll go and barrack for the Bears all day.
Very good. Very good.
No, I think this year, I think it was a good year to remember to love football a bit more. Remember I said at the very first show of the year that we need to remember to love the game a bit more. We all got caught up in silly rules interpretations, the MRO, strange scheduling, and I think that's always just going to be a fact of life. But overall, the footy this year has actually been a lot of fun to watch. I don't think there was a weekend that was just full of dud games. There was always a weekend or a day of footy that was just magnificent. Random games that you wouldn't expect to be good turned out to be a lot of fun to watch. There was so many different stories, and even the way Brisbane ended up winning the premiership was, truly a remarkable feat. It wasn't just, the Swans will win and it's the rest. It was anyone was in it except for Richmond, obviously. But it was just genuinely, from afar, it was just such a fun season.
So did you answer your own question before? Night grand final, twilight grand final? What's your thoughts?
I can deal with Twilight. I think Twilight's a good compromise.
Yeah, I can get on board with it.
Yeah.
By in the middle of the year, we stretching it out over a long period of time, or we're just having a weekend off?
Weekend off.
Start
the AFLW.
Yeah.
I'd like the weekend off, but I don't think they will.
No, they need content. So.
Relocates finals by.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Grand final.
I'm on board
Relocate that one.
with the Lynch ticket on that.
Are we doing a 4-game opening round, or we're going to go an 8-game sort of opening round split between the northern states and then a couple of big games in Melbourne?
Yeah, have opening round and call it round 1.
Yes. Well, I reckon they might try to do the same thing in New South Wales, Queensland. So almost what they did. Yeah. But I reckon complete the round in Melbourne.
Maybe round 1 is split or something. I don't know. Just call it round 1, as the opening round thing's confusing and silly. And on that note, we will see you for opening round in 2025. That wraps up Ned's Unpopular Opinions. Rocky, Lynchy, Ryan, for Rocky and Lynchy, for both on behalf of Ryan and I, it's an absolute pleasure that we get to go talk to footy.
Thanks, boys.
Talk footy with you boys every week. We are really lucky to do that, and I genuinely love coming in, or if we're dialing in and chatting about footy with you blokes. It's genuinely a highlight of my week. So, no, we love working with you boys.
Very good.
Ryan,
thank you.
You've done a bang-up job as always.
Appreciate it, Dill.
You've become our absolute go-to numbers man. And
what do you do over the summer?
Straight into racing.
Yeah, so into racing. And so do you do the tips on racing?
Yeah.
Any danger of just a couple of bloody sneaky
it's been tough the last couple of weeks. But, I think I tipped you a quaddie a while ago and it didn't go too well. So.
Nah.
Don't follow me.
The fourth leg's still running.
Have you seen our AFL multis this year?
That's right. You must be horse racing or something. You into the NFL or you must, what are you good at? You're good at...
No, he's great for Neds.
Yeah, right. Company man.
That's it, yeah.
No, just give us something, will you?
All in my back pocket.
Yeah. Cool.
And shout out to Rich as well.
Yes, I was
Rich.
about to say, congrats to Richard Oldfield, our buttons man and cameraman. He sets the studio up magnificently for us every week.
Who's never watched an AFL game in his life?
No, passionate Carl.
Passionate Carl.
He adopted the Carl.
I think he did a multi-leg one week and it got up.
He did.
Yeah, I know, so we had to sack him.
No, Rich does a fantastic job, not just on this show, but all the other Ned shows, the NRL podcast and all the little videos and not just Ned's, all the other brands we have in this building. So, no, Rich, you've done a great job, mate. So, a round of applause for Rich. Good on you, Rich. And on that note, that has been Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions for season 2024. Hang on, before I go, is anyone going?
It's a long outro.
Is it
Massive throw to the break.
Well, it's his last one, so let him have it.
Is it
Lost you off stump yet? Have they notified you?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
After this, he's got a meeting with Tom.
I'm actually going to Channel 7 next year, like everyone else. So whatever. No, is anyone actually going to Channel 7 next year? No.
You're on with Kano.
Yeah, Dylan and Kane. Yeah. The Dylan and Kane show. Can't wait for that every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, 3 nights a week. Can't wait for that. No, I'll probably be here. Come on, wind it up. Goodbye. Enjoy.
Thanks for listening to Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions. Enjoyed the podcasts? Remember to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.